Welcome to the Quantum Collective.
All right. I have made some really big changes to MeadTools, and I wanted to go through and talk about what some of those changes are and um, go through and discuss the new interface and how things work and all of that. So I've reorganized everything um, in terms of the nav bar. Instead of having links all the way across the top, it's all in this menu right here. You've got your calculators. Go to the recipe builder, nutrient calculator, any extra calculators, and you can go to your account page, which we'll talk about later. And then the additional links is to go to the about and contact page. I also added a toggle for light and dark mode on the nav bar. And one of the important new features that I've added is localization. I've added support for German. So now you can go up here and change the entire site over to German. I will later have support for Polish and French and hopefully Spanish as well. And maybe even more to come later. I'm not 100% sure. As of right now, there's support for English and German. I'm going to go through some of the changes to the recipe builder. For the most part, a lot of this is the same. Um, there are some big new things, like the ability to add a secondary addition of an ingredient. So I'm actually going to build a recipe as we go through this. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about like what I'm doing, but I am going to build one as I go through this. So say I wanted to make a batch of mead with a gallon of water and 3 pounds of honey, and then I want to add some blackberries into secondary. So I'm going to add 2 pounds of blackberries, and I don't want these to ferment, but I still want to know what my ABV and everything is going to be. So if I click this button right here, that adds it to a secondary addition. You can see that the estimated measured OG that you'll get is 1084, but the actual OG is closer to 1076. And then it has my total primary volume, which is the amount you'll see in primary, and the total actual volume, it's a little bit higher. And it adjusts your FG to account for your secondary additions. And then it gives you your alcohol percentage that you would end up with. So with this blackberry mead, I'd end up at 9.46%, and I would end up with about 1.4 gallons. That's before racking losses and all of that. Before, all of the calculators were on one page and you just scroll down, but I've moved it over to a thing where you click next to go to the next page. And also, you probably just saw the loading screen there. That's because I'm using a actual database now for a lot of the um, for the yeasts and the ingredients and stuff like that. So nutrient calculator is pretty much exactly the same as it was. So you can go in and enter your yeast. Let's go with a Red Star yeast for this. And you can enter your yeast and it'll adjust everything for you. But I now have a toggle for nitrogen requirements. So say you're using Red Star yeast, but a specific yeast, but you want to do it at a really high gravity. So you want to do it at a higher nutrient level. I could do that here. It also calculates your offset for you. The reason there's no offset for this one is because the blackberries that I added are in secondary, so they don't contribute to the offset. Now, it gives you your target in. You can still pick from all the different nutrient additions. I'm going to go with TBE for this one, and I'm going to go for 3 additions, and it still gives you your yeast amount. But something I did add is this advanced nutrition button. If you click on the advanced nutrition button, say you're using a nutrient that's not Fermate O, Fermate K, or DAP, say you're like outside of the US, and you can't get one, you can adjust these numbers to be closer to the actual yang contribution that you get from your specific nutrient that you use. And then also you can adjust the yen from source. So I have my target yen here. Say I wanted it specifically to be like 50 ppm from Firmate O and 50 ppm from Firmate K and 88 ppm from DAP. I could do that, or I could just leave this alone and it'll calculate it for me based off of the other, um, based off of how these are set up. So I'm going to move on next to the nutrient calculator results. Everything here is pretty much exactly the same as it was before. There's not really a whole lot of new stuff here. There's support for GoFarm, GoFarm Protect, GoFarm Sterile Flash, and none. And that is about it for this section. Now go over to the stabilizers. There's one quick change here. It does give you a suggestion for how many Campton tablets could replace that amount of potassium metabisulfite. But other than that, it's pretty much exactly the same as it was before. The additives page has had one very important addition to it, and that is when you add an additive, let me change this to something else. So it's set to OptiWhite. Let's say I want to add FT Blanc Soft instead, and you see that this amount automatically adjusted. This is based off of the low end of the manufacturer's recommendations and your volume, your batch volume. But you can adjust any of these numbers here too, and you can add more. Say I want to add OptiWhite, it gives me my recommendation there, and I can remove this if I want to, or I can keep it if I want to. And then I go over to my next page, and this is a new section. This is a section for adding notes to your recipe. So I already have a note here in testing new recipe. I'm going to add one to the secondary notes, testing secondary notes, and I can add more. I can take them away. But I have to have one. But if you leave it blank, it'll leave it blank later. But there has to be one line here. So I've added my notes. I can add up to 10 primary notes and 10 secondary notes. And now I've updated how the recipe PDF works. Instead of just being a print thing, it's a full like PDF in here, and it has all of my stuff on there, and it even has my notes. The notes for primary go here, the notes for secondary go down here. All of this works in German too, or in whatever languages I plan on adding later. You can see the additives that I added are here too in their own section, and you can download or print, do whatever you want with this recipe PDF here. Next, you go onto the save recipe page, and I'm not actually logged in right now, so you can't save a recipe unless you log into your account. So now we're going to talk about account pages, because that is a new thing to MeadTools. You can either log into your account via the email and the password that you register with. You obviously have to register first, and then you can log in that way, or you can log in with Google, and the Google sign-in does work. I'm going to sign in with this admin login only because I don't want to go through and like show all of my Google account and all of that. So I'm going to log in, admin at meadtools.com, and now I'm logged in and I can see my recipes that I already have. But I want to go back to that home page, recipe page, and as you can see, all the stuff that I did a minute ago has been saved because it's saved in local storage on your browser. So I can go back to the last page right after the recipe, and now that I'm logged in, I can save the recipe. So I'm going to call this test blackberry mead. And now if I click enter, it saves it to my account, and I can view it or delete it. We are going to view those here in just a second, but first I want to show you some of the new settings things that I've added to the account page. You go to settings, you can set your preferred theme, which sets your preferred theme for the entire site. You can set your preferred language, so this will change the language on the site. Just change it to German, and now I'm going to change it back to English. And you can also set your preferred units. You can do US or metric, and that will automatically set your units on the main calculator. I'm not going to actually change it here because I don't want it to mess up what I've already been doing. But if you change it to metric and then you go to the home page, you will then have it set for kilograms and liters instead of gallons and pounds. And that does persist. So now I'm going to go and actually view one of the recipes. So let's view this blueberry mead that I did before earlier. So I click view and it takes me to a page that looks very similar to the old page, except you'll notice in the URL that it has recipe, it's /recipe/ and then a recipe number. You can actually share this link with other people. So if I wanted to go to a different recipe, let's say I wanted to go to number 4. I'm going to go to number 4 now, and it'll show me that this is actually another user's recipe. So it'll still let me view it, but you have to make a copy in order to save any changes. And you can only view other people's recipes if you're logged into an account. It doesn't have to be your account, but it has to be an account. But I'm going to go back, or let's show this first. If you go to the end of this on someone else's recipe, you end up on the save recipe page. It looks just like the home page. The only difference is if you save it here, it'll save it to your account. But now let's go back to the blueberry mead recipe that is actually owned by this account. So now if I go to the end, instead of saying save recipe, it will say save changes to recipe, and it'll actually have my recipe name in here. So I didn't make any changes, except I think I want to change the name to have a capital. So let's do that. And now if I go, I have blueberry mead with a capital on here. So you can go through and view your own recipes. You can delete your own you can delete your recipe if you don't like it, and it gets rid of it. All of your recipes will show up here on your account. You can view other people's recipes. So a lot of big changes on this front. Now I'm actually going to go over and show one other change that I made, and this is on the extra calculators page. The stabilizers calculator is now one thing. So instead of being a sorbate calculator and sulfite calculator, it is one calculator, and it shows your equivalent in Camden tablets too if you don't want to use powdered sulfite. The other thing is I added a bench trial calculator, and this allows you to go in and do bench trials, and it has some stuff set automatically, but you can change any of these items to go through and do your bench trials for your feed. So I really hope that these updates were helpful. I hope that I can continue to update this in the future and make it better and better and better. But I think this set of changes is the big thing that I needed to do in order to take it to the next level. And in terms of my future plans, I don't have any plans for adding new features to this site specifically yet, unless people really want some stuff. My big plan for the near future is to start looking into developing a mobile app for MeadTools. So if anybody has any questions, you can contact me through Discord, or you can contact admin@meadtools.com or contact@meadtools.com. I'm on both of those emails. And you can also just comment here under this video, and I will be sure to get back to you. You can also, I forgot, you can also view the contact page on MeadTools, and I get emails through there too. So if you have any questions, please get in contact. I look forward to seeing how people use the features, and I'm really, really excited about all the things to come. So, goodbye.